What's up, guys? My name is Nick Valentine. I am one of the co-founders of Meat Network, and I'm a student here at OTC Westside for the Fundamental Food Service culinary program, let's say. Today we're going to be making steak au poivre, which is French for pepper steak. Okay, so first things first, we're going to season our steak. So today we have two 1-inch thick Publix green wise strip steaks. So all that's going on these steaks is two things, right? So we can tell, here's real quick. So we're gonna do this coarse ground kosher salt. Don't be scared to season your steaks, because the instant we put this into the pan, we're gonna lose 30% of our seasonings. Okay? Kosher salt. And then now for the French term pepper steak, au poivre, to come into effect, we're gonna have to put a heavy pepper crust on this steak. You want a heavy coarse ground pepper crust on that steak. That's what you get. We're gonna get all that flavor from, and that's where we're gonna get the flavor for the sauce. Alright, now we flip. Alright. Now we're going to transfer these over to our baking sheet. And these are going to go in our oven at 275 degrees. Let's go. So the steaks are in the oven at 275 degrees. They're going to cook in that oven for about the next 25 to 30 minutes, just based off the thickness of the steaks and what temperature they were before I put them in there. A little colder than room temp. And after that, we're going to take them back out here onto the range, throw them in a smoking hot cast iron skillet to sear them off, and then we're going to make our beautiful bean sauce. Alright, so let's check the temperature of these steaks. Okay, so to check the temperature of these steaks, we're going to open up the oven, pull out my trusty meat thermometer. We're going to grab this tray, check the temp. I don't know if you can see that, it says about 108. And then this one says 95. So we're going to close that back up and just burn myself. There you go. Alright. So these steaks should be about another 5 to 6 minutes, depending on, the heat in there or whatever. And then we're going to bring it over here to our stove, and we're going to set it down on our trusty cast iron skillet. Alright, so one of our steaks, our smaller steak, is reaching that 115, 117 temperature range. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to come over here, we're going to turn our heat up, put this in the middle, and we're going to let this skillet start smoking. And once it starts smoking, we're going to add our avocado oil, and it's going to get all nice and perfect, and then we're going to sear our steak. Okay? So I don't know if you can see, but we have our pan smoking. So we're going to drizzle in our oil. We're going to let that sit around. Let me turn the heat down a little bit real quick. Just so I can grab this pan, switch that oil around. Okay. We're going to turn our heat back up. We're going to grab our steak out the grill. Alright. And down into the pan we go. So what this is going to do, this steak is already at 119 degrees. It's a little over what I was trying to go for, but we're just going to sear it in this pan. It's going to give it that nice crust and that color that we all think of when we think of a perfect steak. So what we're going to do, we're going to cook it on this side at super high heat. We're going to crank that heat for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, and then we're going to pull it off onto our resting sheet. steak is done. Take it off our pan. Got beautiful crust on both sides. Now we're gonna let that rest. We're gonna turn the heat down a little bit just so you know we don't completely start smoking up the kitchen. And we're gonna pull the other steak in the next 10, 15 seconds and drop her down. So see all this brown in the bottom of the pan over here? That's called fond. Up next, after we take this steak out of the pan, we're gonna cook this steak for about 30 seconds on this side, flip it 30 seconds on the other side to get that nice little sear. Then we're gonna take our steaks out to rest them. We're gonna pour our bourbon whiskey in. We're gonna light it on fire. That's gonna deglaze the pan, releasing all that fond at the bottom of the pan, and that's gonna be later incorporated into our sauce. Kill our heat now. We're going to remove the steak from the pan. Another beautiful crust. We're just going to let this pan cool down a little bit because there will be a big fireball if I don't let it cool down. So it's better safe than sorry since we're not in my home kitchen where it's cool. Alright, for safety reasons we're doing this in the back of the pan. So now we're going to add our Perfect. So now that's going to release all that fond at the bottom of the pan, and we're going to incorporate that right into our sauce. We're going to add our heavy whipping cream, about a half a cup. Damn, it's hot. Turn that heat down. So now we can turn that heat all the way off. The residual heat from this pan is just going to thicken in this heavy whipping cream. And then here we're going to add our Dijon mustard, about 2 tablespoons. Now we're going to mix that Dijon mustard in with the remaining oils and fats and fond and bourbon and heavy whipping cream all into this pan. We're going to try and incorporate it all together. So there's a little too much oil, I'm going to be honest with you, but we can still make this work. It'll still be good. It's all about just mixing it in. Alright, so I'm going to turn that heat back on. I'm going to let this come up to a simmer, and that's going to thicken this sauce right up. Should take about a minute to 2 minutes, not too long. Alright, look at that. Look how thick that is. That's perfect. This is literally the perfect consistency we want. A way you can check consistency or the thickness of a sauce, you could go from one end of the pan to the other, and if it has like a little hesitation before it fills back up, that is, in my opinion, perfect. Or you can also, it doesn't really work on this spatula, on the back of a spoon, you could dip it in and then rub your finger down, and if there's like a remaining a line down the middle, that's perfectly thick. So we're just gonna let this sit and we're gonna go cut up our steaks. So look at that. Perfectly, I don't know if it'll focus. There you go. Medium rare on one steak, okay? So now we're gonna move this up, grab our other steak. Shit. Medium rare. And now for the final piece of the puzzle, add that beautiful, beautiful aqua. Just look at that. Gorgeous.